The bad news is that the Canes are not perfect. The good news would be that the great majority of champions throughout the history of college football are not perfect. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis on Miami football every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Please hit the like button before we get rolling here for the next 60. Cam Underwood, State of the U, right next to me. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. How are you? How's everything going?
I'm good. And I watched the game after the fact. I was out on Friday night, came home, and looked at the two scores on the two games that were both pretty substantial upsets, anywhere from 8 to 13 points between the two games, and took this one in. Anybody not watching the game, and if they were asked for one number that signified this game, they would probably come up with Carson Beck throwing 4 interceptions. Now, the first one wasn't the worst pass in the world. The last 3 were pretty questionable in regards to combination of poor decision and poor pass.
Yeah, the first one, it's a better throw than I could make, but respectfully, he just doesn't have the armor to make that throw. Malachi Toney was open. Did a little short motion, what do they call that? Insert motion, because it's towards the formation. So a little short insert motion, and then a kind of stick and nod post, and he was open. But the ball hung like a hot air balloon, and the guy, other safety from the backside, just made a great play, man. I mean, the ball was up there for forever and gave him the chance to get there. But like if Carson had a stronger arm, that's a touchdown. And also Carson was like, well, the ball didn't come out clean and it was maybe a little late. So if it comes out clean and it's on time, like that was a touchdown. But you didn't make the throw for a touchdown. The other ones were just, I mean, you're -2 in turnovers and down 3 at the half, or down 4 at the half, 14-10. You're -3 for the game with 4 interceptions and lose by 3. Like, even with all of the other failings, and credit to Louisville, they had a good game plan. They had faster players in Isaac Brown and Chris Bell who made our defensive lives living hell, right? Credit to them. They brought guys to the run. They were playing the double mug, walk up, drop game. They had a plan and they executed it. Carson Beck doesn't have his worst passing day of his career with the most interceptions of his career. Miami still wins that game. But he did. So we lost.
Yeah, so is there anything else? What would you point to number 2 as being it sounds like the ability to tackle those 2 guys in space would be to cover and tackle.
Yeah, missed tackles. Missed way more tackles than we had all year. PFF had Miami's tackling grade at like 55 for the game, which is just atrocious. I mean, you had guys in position to make plays, and you just didn't. Louisville really bet on the fact that Chris Bell was faster than O.J. Frederick, and he couldn't cover him. And people forget that the field is 53 to 30 yards wide. So even if you're running from sideline to sideline, that's a long darn way. So on these mesh crossers, where you're running laterally, if you go from outside the numbers, which is where he started on the first touchdown, to outside the opposite hash, that's still 35, 40, 45 yards of sprinting. Bro, I'm faster than you. You can't keep up with me. Then we're running mesh, which we know is a crossing route anyway, and you're going to have landmarks and things in the way. Linebacker doesn't hit his depth to give O.J. Frederick the room on the first crosser, so now they bump. So you're a step behind a guy who's faster than you anyway. Now you got knocked another step and a half further behind. GG's, good night, cancel Christmas. So, and again, Louisville did a really good job of executing the plan. And then Isaac Brown, they were just like, look, we're going to get him in space, and he's one of the fastest players in college football, full stop. And also Corey Heatherman did admit there was a 3rd and 10 when we had loaded up for the pass. Jeff Brom saw it and said, yo, we're going to check to this sprint draw counter going offenses left to right with Isaac Brown, and we're going to get there. And they did. And so, yeah, it was moments. And, yeah, the inability to effectively tackle. And honestly, they schemed up the matchups. Miami just got out-athleted by two dudes, but those are two of the best athletes in America. And when you're putting a Miami linebacker one-on-one in space with Isaac Brown, GG's. If you're putting O.J. Frederick specifically one-on-one against Chris Bell in a situation that turns into a foot race, not a real, technique thing, but just who can pick him up and put him down quicker, you saw what it is. And yeah, they were able to scheme stuff up. Miami shot themselves in the face multiple times with multiple penalties on top of the 4 Carson Beck interceptions. Were atrocious on third downs. So when you look at the moments, Miami actually was better at 41, 5 of 12 on third down, whereas Louisville was 5 of 14. But 1 of 2, 1 of 2 on third and long, 3 of 5 on third and short. And then the third and mediums, so anywhere between 5 and 8 yards, just whatever the remainder is. And then Louisville, for their credit, they were 4 for 6 on third and short, 1 of 7 on third and long, but it was that sprint counter draw that I was talking about that was in a key spot. So it was moments and executing the scheme and putting Miami in positions where they were not able to stay in front of the sticks. And again, and Miami, more penalties after more penalties after more penalties. And we saw it again. So you go 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and then, on 3 of the not 3. On the second and third interceptions, I have no idea what on God's green earth Carson was looking at all. The first one, a better throws a touchdown, but you made it's like, I mentioned this before. It's like when if you play or watch Dungeons and Dragons, where you roll an initiative check and you have the 20-sided die, and it's like the higher that you roll, the better your character does, and then you roll a 2 on it. You know what I mean? It's just like, or even if you're playing another video game, there's random number generation for the, combat system. So sometimes you try something and it's not as effective because the RNG system rolls low. You, on a 20-sided die, rolled a 2 on that throw, right? Interception. The last one, and everybody needs to just take a chill pill. I need to fix my camera. There we go. People across the world of college football were saying that Carson Beck was throwing his teammates under the bus for his description of the 4th interception when asked about it post-game. That is categorically false. Carson said there was miscommunication. We didn't have the right setup, and with the miscommunication, the routes went in places other than what I thought they were going to be. And then he did eventually say the wrong route in his answer. And people were like, oh, you're throwing Elijah Lofton under the bus and da-da-da-da. People are bringing their own stuff with Carson to what he said. What he said was there was miscommunication. We had a play. Obviously, receivers are running a different route because the play was not communicated correctly. It was a blitz from that side. And, a quick fix for the blitz is to replace the blitz with the throw. So blitz coming from here, I threw to replace it. Miscommunication meant the routes weren't there. And TJ Capers, a Miami native from Christopher Columbus High School, the highest rated commit ever in the history of Louisville football, made an incredible play to catch that ball and make the thing. But people were saying, oh, Carson's throwing his receiver under the bus. No. And Carson was asked about it today in his post-practice media availability. Let's be like, hey, people are saying this is, whatever. And if you watch the whole video of the response after the game, the first person asked, he gave a response. There was a follow-up question, and then he gave a response and went more granular on this, not necessarily calling the exact play call, but like, we had called play, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you have all site alterations or site adjustments when there's a blitz, when you go hot, da-da-da-da. So he kind of drilled down further. People just wanted him to genuflect more and be like, I miscommunicated. I was the one. And they were honing in on the fact that he said, and we had a wrong route. If you have a miscommunication, the route's going to be wrong. So, but he didn't say, you suck and he did the wrong thing and, da-da-da-da. It wasn't all that, but that's what people made it out to be. So I just want to give cover to Carson for that, for saying, hey, transparently, we had a great play called. We had a site adjustment for hot. I went there. Clearly there was miscommunication, but he didn't say, me, myself personally, Carson George Beck, or whatever his middle name is, said the wrong thing and I put the da-da-da-da-da. He didn't do all of that performative accountability. And so people use that as an opportunity to kind of talk crap about him, which is asinine. But hey, you perform that way, you throw that play, and you say what you say, even if what you mean is clear by what you said, like the intent is clear. Also, because it wasn't explicit, you open the door for people to misinterpret and say all this stuff. So I just want to give a second to clear that up. But yeah, on the second and third interceptions, I have no idea what on God's green earth he was looking at. On the fourth one, you got a miscommunication. A guy's running, whatever route. It doesn't go where you thought it was going to be, and it gets tipped, and a guy makes an incredible play. Interception number 4. It's funny, though, guy sits next to me in the press box, Brandon O'Doy, was literally telling me, and I didn't even have a chance to tweet it out before the interception happened. He's in my ear. He's leaning right here, literally. I feel his breath on me. He says, so they have to run the ball. They have to save him from himself. They cannot allow him to throw a 4th interception. Boom. And I'm tweeting it. I'm typing at the time. And then he kind of he does that one of those, and he hits me in the shoulder. And I'm just like, I'm going to tweet exactly what you said because I couldn't even get it to the people before Carson threw the interception. But yeah, this is going to infuriate some people. My view has always been, and you can verify this because we've been doing this for umpteen years. My view is about the University of Miami and us doing what we need to do. It's exclusive of whoever's on the other side. And even with a talented team, scheming things up, playing hard and all that stuff, it took the worst passing day in Carson Beck's freaking career ever. High school, middle school, college, anywhere. It took the worst turnover day of his career to lose by 3. If we do what we need to do, Miami still wins that game. Still. I fully believe that. So, hey, it is what it is, but and it's really, really infuriating. And it was frustrating because we had opportunities to really take a hold of that game, go score, really change the tide. But you go down 14-0 early and you're playing catch up the whole game. We trailed the whole game after only having trailed 9 minutes the whole entire season leading up to that. So there was a measure of that, but it's really, really frustrating. I predicted 11-1 and that we're going to lose one that we shouldn't. And I think that this is the one that we shouldn't. It's now incumbent upon Miami to bounce back and win the rest of their games.
We've got some super chats coming in. We'll get to those in just a second. I'm going to bring one thing up. I don't know if you noticed this, but you notice everything. So if I noticed it, on the fake field goal by Louisville, Zachariah Poser was celebrating in the back of the end zone, and so were a contingent of Miami fans, simply thinking that he had to reach the end zone for it to be a successful play when it was 4th and 2.
4th and 2 from the 4-yard line. This is another one where I was actually talking with the people around me in the press box, and I didn't tweet it, but I'm just you have to know he's not kicking. Brian Brown is not kicking that. Regardless, disregard what you see from any team, anytime they play anyone else. Miami is their Super Bowl. Miami is the game where they're going to They had 2 plays on the first or second drive where they had 3 quarterbacks on the field and motioned them around for which one is going to take the snap. Have you seen that ever from them in the last 4 years? No. Did it could show up against Miami? Yeah, because it's different. And if you really thought a Brian Brohm coached team was going to come down here on 4th and 2 on the 4-yard line and take the points in a game where you know you need 7s to be competitive, to have a chance to win, I have prime, I have prime oceanfront property in Missoula, Montana for you. Like, please. I mean, it defied logic. I was so mad because they came out in kick block. They didn't come out in base D, right? Or goal line D. Now, in subsequent situations, they were all punts. But like 4th and 3 and we're going to punt, they said, cool, leave 10 players from the defense. Whichever safety, you come off the field, Malachi go back there. So we leave 10 of our 11 on the field, right? You ain't do that there. And then Mario Cristobal had the gall, the audacity to say we had the right call, we had the right people out there, and we did what we needed to do. It was supposed to trigger a certain thing, but it just didn't. Who and where? There was nobody else there but whomever made the tackle at the 1-yard line. What are you talking about? Now, going back and looking at it, one of the end rushers did peel off and cover and go with the kicker as the pitch man. That did happen. Ain't nobody else doing anything. So you had one guy out there doing what needed to be done. You have everybody else rushing, and you've got other guys dropping and then coming up to make a tackle at the 1-yard line. And you want to tell me you were ready and prepared and properly allocated your resources on defense for that play? Buddy, that was truly infuriating. Like, I couldn't believe they came out and kick block. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? They are not kicking that. I don't care that they brought the kicker and punter out, kicker and punter for the hold. I don't care. This has thrown itself up against Miami by umpteen teams for umpteen years. Virginia in the Mike London years when beating Al Golden kept his job for 3 years in a row. They ran out all kinds of other stuff. Louisville for the last 3 years. We've seen it from Virginia Tech last year. We've seen it from last year. We've seen it from everybody. They're going to go balls to the wall. They're going to empty the playbook. They're going to do any and everything. Oh, well, they showed stuff on the field that hasn't been on film. Duh, everybody does that because Miami's their Super Bowl, bro. They have to go. You have to swing for the knockout. And if you hit it, right, like they did on these first 2 drives, now all of a sudden it's a standing 8 count halfway through the first quarter, and you got the number 2 team down 2 tuds at home. If you miss it, we're supposed to lose anyway. Cool. But this is the inverse of what happened against USF. Because USF tried. But they got stopped, and then we're not even in position to try to throw these haymakers. And then they're a more talented team, and they executed, and da-da-da-da. This, from Louisville, is what happened because they hit those 2 haymakers. And then they got the one later on the Chris Bell touchdown on the cross. Now, you done swung 3 times for knockouts, and you done hit them. That's not even including the 3rd and 10. That's not even including these other. This is not even including catching every goddamn interception. That TJ Capers catch, you got to go back and look at it because I know that you, Miami fan, turned it off. You saw it was an interception. Go back and look at the actual catch. It is about shin high. He's going down. This is a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker edge rusher. He catches the ball by the back half of the football. So you got half the ball hanging down like this goddamn Gatorade bottle. And he has the strong hands to get it and tuck it and roll, and it doesn't come out. Bro, they made every freaking play, and it started from there. They hit the haymakers. But when you're Miami, you have to be ready for that. And though we ended up, punching back, we were unable to climb that mountain. But it started there with I wasn't even going to mention it because clearly I'm really, really, really mad about it. But my God, just it should have been. I know that there are people who are mad at Mario for taking timeouts early in games, specifically. Second half, those are better. But if you take it for timeout, because I do not believe what he tried to sell me a bill of goods, that everybody was in place and knew that. Nope, absolutely not. Nah, timeout, make them think about it. If they're going to go for it on 4th and 2 on our 4-yard line, cool, bring the offense back out. But nah, they had us out leveraged and out coached there. And yeah, so that was.
I think you also consider that heavily because of the field position. It's 4th and 2. And the ability for a team, we could chart this throughout football history, to block field goals that are chip shots versus from 40, 45, 50 yards. Mm-hmm. The ability to do that is diminished considerably. Plus, any team in a position to go for it, whether they choose to do it conventionally or from a fake field goal situation, if they don't get it, the risk reward, it makes sense, because then you leave your defense on the field and you're defending inside the 5-yard line and you're in great shape if you defend. It's just, it's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. If they didn't get it, make Miami walk 96 yards.
Yeah.
It's all upside, which again is more frustrating then, because Mario Cristobal goes out and I'm like, oh, it's a normal play against a normal team that's actually going to freaking kick the ball. They weren't going to kick there. They just categorically were not, regardless of who they brought on the field. They were never kicking that ball. So what are we doing?
Falconer TRX is here. Appreciate you, man. Let's run him down.
Falconer, hold on 1 second. Pause. Is this the week, or was last week when he was in Fort Collins? Because I talked to my friend from Fort Collins after we spoke, and we text a lot, so I have to scroll up a little bit. Go through probably CB or Potts bars were the ones outside of the microbreweries that I told you. Those are two good ones if you are going out there in the future. If you were out there last week, then I hope that you had a good time. But yeah, CB or Potts, Fort Collins, Colorado, for bars for this week's game, if that's what you're looking for.
All right. We do it all here. Paolo showing up with this one. Even though I felt this was going to be a loss in the preseason, when I saw Louisville was having a bye week as well, it was still aggravating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really aggravating to watch. I mean, I tweeted it early in the game. Jeff Brown was coaching circles around Corey Heatherman. Luckily, Heatherman did make some adjustments. We got 4 consecutive punts after the first 2 touchdowns to allow Miami to continue to stay in the game. But we had no answers at all early. And then same thing on the other side of the ball. I don't know who their defensive coordinator is, but they were eating our lunch. And also credit to them. They gave up 5 sacks against Virginia a couple weeks ago in that overtime loss. And they know that we have a much, much, much better defensive line than does Virginia. And they just said, hey, everything's going to be short. The ball is getting out of Miller Moss's hands because we know he doesn't have the range. So it's just going to be dink and dunk and let Chris Bell or whoever run. And that was an effective game plan. So again, credit to Louisville. So in case anybody wants to clip this and say, oh, Cam's just talking stuff and da-da-da, credit to Louisville. They had a plan. They executed. They won the game. I cannot take that away from them, though I would very much like to. I still say it's about us more than it is about them. But credit to them. They played the game, schemed the game, won the game.
I believe he will recognize the Louisville defensive coordinator's name, Ron English.
Oh, yeah, former at Florida,
right? Former Michigan linebacker, correct? Right?
That Ron English. Yeah, same guy.
Yeah, he's been around. He's been around several stops. Defensive coordinator at Michigan, 06 and 07. DC at San Jose State. Florida safeties coach, 18, 19, and 20.
Yeah.
Purdue, Louisville since 2023 with Jeff Brom.
Okay.
We've got Slug Bruce, who says the players looked tired. We need to rotate our depth.
I mean, to some point, yeah, but I don't think it was really that much tired legs. It wasn't. I didn't think it was. I mean, I think that's a footnote. I don't think that was like a major cause. But yeah, we would like to see maybe a little bit more rotation. And it's really interesting to see if you're talking about offense or defense, because the defense had more plays than the offense, and that's been a major point of contention because I'm sure that we will get into it about certain players not playing more snaps in offense. To which Shannon Dawson responded this week at his presser and said, "Hey, we basically ran about 60 plays. Starters start for a reason. I want to be up in the 80 play range, which gives opportunities to rotate a little bit more. But if you have limited snaps, starters start for a reason, guys."
For sure. That's a balancing act. No doubt. Falconer TRX with this one. Taunting penalty on Malachi Tony was garbage. Don't remember that one.
Oh, yeah. Unsportsmanlike conduct after a Mark Fletcher run was the actual thing. Yeah. There were several calls that were questionable. And then calls on the other side that weren't made. Even with that being the case, I still respectfully submit if Miami had done what they needed to do, so could and should have won that game. But yeah, I mean, it was, Louisville, I'm going to be frank with you. They were doing some dirty shit early in the game. They were diving at legs on defense through the offensive lineman's knees. They were pushing people late and then flopping and crying. It's like my little cousin, Haterade, is his nickname. I'm 13 years older than, no, not that much. I'm 11 years older than Haterade. And when Haterade was very young, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go mess with big cousin Cam." Then when he got my attention and I'm chasing after him, "Mom, Grandma, I didn't call. Oh, so it's just me. You didn't just tear or pop my chain, right? You didn't come in here and try to smack me with a pillow. You didn't do none of those things. But now all of a sudden, when it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun." Same exact thing. That penalty, the Francis Maui-Noah penalty for pushing a guy after the guy dove through his legs during the play and pushed him in the back in front of the umpire after the play, and then Maui Noah just said, "Man, get out of here." And then he goes, "Ah!" and flops and yells like they teach you at McCracken basketball camp, if you remember those back in the day, how to take a charge. You take it in the chest, and you do the sound. They literally teach that, right? So now you do that, and it's a 15-yard penalty or half the distance on Maui Noah, but you want to talk about diving through the knees and everything. And it was, even the broadcast was like, "Yo, this is getting chippy," because they were doing dirty shit. But still, absent any of that, because I'm not making excuses, if Miami did what they needed to do in the game, they should have won. But we didn't, so it's a loss.
I think we may have some excuses coming up here, but
okay.
Whatever all that says, butter. We've got 2 buys in 3 weeks. Hurt us a lot, and it's no way we could keep game shape intensity with the buys. It's why we started slow and had bad tackling.
I mean,
I think that can be true, but it's still an excuse. Sure, there can be all sorts of effects of bye weeks, but teams have to play under the circumstances.
I mean, you do have to play under the circumstances, and this is also why I lamented the fact of the second bye week after the Florida State game, because I wanted the team to get on the field to immediately be able to change the performance from what we saw in the fourth quarter in Tallahassee. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And the beginning of the game was really a continuation of that. Is it correlation or causation, as Straight Butter says? I don't know. But yeah, even if you want to say that, then fine. Okay, I'm not going to fight you on that. the fact that this team was so poorly prepared in terms of being ready for the team they were going to face, not just playing a practice session or anything, but actually competition versus another organization. Knowing that Jeff Brom just had a bye week and he's going to dial stuff up, but you're going at it like this is just a degular kind of a game. It's underwhelming from top to bottom. And Cristobal said he has to be better. He does. Dawson said he has to be better and call better plays to put players in position to be better. He does. Heatherman said the same thing. He does. All the players admitted they just had to play better. They do. I'm not going to fight you on this, Straight Butter. If that's what you believe, really, that the bye was the cause of the lack of performance early, okay. I don't necessarily agree with you, but like I said, I'm not going to fight you on it.
Falconer's coming back. What do you got, Falconer? Team needed a wake-up call. Future looks bright.
Well, hope they're woke now, because it was kind of cliche from Cristobal that every game is a playoff game early because you had the opportunity to lose one. The wiggle room, if you will. Ain't no more wiggle room. Every game is a playoff game from here on out. You have to run 6-0 through the last week of October and the 5 weeks of November, regardless of the ACC championship game. Because if Miami goes 11-1 in the regular season, they're going to the playoff. If Miami goes 10-2, but 6-2 in the ACC, again, we've already seen what that gets. That gets you placed lower than 3-loss SEC teams and sitting at home while other teams playing the college football playoff. Hey, don't get mad at me. That's what the precedent from last year, 6-2 in the conference and not going to Charlotte, not good enough. And that's before we even get to the fact that Georgia Tech and or Virginia could be undefeated in conference and have those teams going there. I'm not even talking about them. Again, I'm focusing right here on this this side, on this U. You lose another game and then enjoy the bowl game in Orlando again. Those are the stakes. So, look, and I know people want to get mad at me. Well, what did you do? I go to all the games. I cheer. I cover content. I do that. I'm going to do what I need to do. But I ain't got nothing to do with blocking and tackling, running the ball, catching the ball, not throwing interceptions. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just telling you how it is. Playoffs start now, 6-0, all the way through the rest of the regular season, or enjoy your bowl game and half the team opting out when you are going back to Orlando or Shreveport, or maybe you go to Charlotte then for a bowl game. When you go to somewhere else that ain't the college football playoff, those are the stakes. Do with that what you will.
They are certainly going to be a pretty substantial favorite in every game, excluding going out to Dallas to take on SMU. I don't know what Vegas is going to come up with for that one. I would think Miami might be a 6 or 7 point favorite, something like that would be my guess.
Miami's going to be a favorite in every game. I mean, the only one that we were not was Notre Dame. We're going to be a favorite in every single game along the way, which is why this loss is infuriating, because we were 2 touchdown favorites and then you did what you did, right? So, yeah, again, you win the games. No, Falconer was at Colorado State last week. Okay, cool. Well, the next time you go out there, CB or Potts, enjoy those bars. Port Knox makes, there's a couple I want to run through real quick. LM says this week, Miami 27, Stanford 24. I don't have any hair anymore, but I would be pulling it out if this is true. Miami's a 30.5 point favorite. I need some big crooked numbers on the scoreboard. Port Knox also says 9 crucial and terribly timed penalties didn't help in the last game. You are true and correct. And a fair catch call that was, oh my goodness, Malachi Tony. It wasn't a fair catch signal. It wasn't. Like he was going and then he went up and his arm kind of like he was moving forward. He's gathering momentum. But an official from far away said, oh, that's an illegal fair catch signal. I tweeted at the time it would have been a punt return touchdown. I don't know if it would have been a punt return touchdown because the first two gunners pulled up because they heard the whistle and saw the flag. It might have gone, it might not have, but like that penalty, oh my goodness, that was infuriating. That really was, because you not only get the penalty, it not only goes back to the spot of the catch, you get a penalty from there. So yeah, that would, yeah.
Falconer, what you got for us here? Should have kicked a field goal for overtime. I wanted touchdown also.
The last, give me 1 second. Load page, Jesus. It always does this when I need it to do something. Thank you, Lord. The last drive. So the interception happened at 32 seconds left in the game with 2 timeouts from the 31-yard line. Even if you're playing for a field goal, you're not kicking it there. Like, and I believe Mario Cristobal, he said, bro, like, that was full go. You're trying to win the game there. Speaking of which, I'm going to interject in here, Mark, because I see one I want to follow up with. Okay. Fort Knox, what about Mario not calling a timeout with 41 seconds left in the first half? Poor clock management, middle ate my ass. I actually agree with Mario here, and here's why. If you call a timeout on 4th and, let me look at it. Sorry, I need to go to the away team. 3rd downs in the first half. It was 50 seconds. So you're at midfield. Yeah, you're at midfield there. If you call that timeout, that is a free go for it card over to Jeff Brom, who's already crossed you up on a 4th down and everything, right? And again, this is a guy who coaches with house money, because Louisville, honestly, they're 8-9 win kind of a program. They're probably going to be more than that. But, like, nobody has championship aspirations there. So you go balls to the wall. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you call that timeout there, you're saying, hey, we want you to go for it. And then they had a timeout left. If you convert, then they're still walking down and trying to go score more. So Mario said, hey, I would rather let them run the clock down, take their own timeout, or the delay a game, and then kick it to us and take a knee going into the half, only down 4, -2 in turnovers, and having played terribly. You would much rather that than call a timeout, trying to go do something with an offense that's already turned it over, and a quarterback who's thrown 2 interceptions, so you're probably not going to go try to go throw vertical anyways, right? And they're kicking from midfield, so they're probably going to either, it's going to be a touchback or downed inside the 10. So you're probably going to have to go a long way anyway. With 41 seconds, you get a 10-second punt that's going to be 30 seconds or less, right? Even though you have the timeouts, so if you're doing the chess match there, the best option is let them run the clock out, go down into the half, down 4. We get the ball to start second half, boom, done. So I get the impetus to be like, we need the ball right now and go score. That was not a thing that we were doing in that kind of blur way. And I think that it was better, instead of giving their offense another chance to do something crazy and beat you with it, to let it run down. So for me, I understood, and I agree with that thought process. I understand that people disagree, but from where I was sitting watching that game, I get it. You want to get the ball, go 4 verts, blur them over the top. That wasn't the reality of the situation. Let them run it down and kick it to us. So, I mean, hey, agree or disagree, that's my view of it, and I believe that was Cristobal's view of it, and I actually agree with that decision in that spot.
Muhammad is here for us tonight. Appreciate you, sir. Why did we spend so much for a guy who can only throw check downs? He has no arm, no mobility whatsoever, no horsepower behind his throws, no zip.
Guy who's 29-3 going into this week's game as a starter. A guy who has been to college football playoff. He's been to SEC championship games. a guy who has played well and shown himself to be a very good college quarterback. That's why. I don't necessarily disagree with any of the critiques you are putting forward, however. My only thing would then be, if not Carson Beck, realistically, whom? John Mateer was following Ben Arbuckle to Oklahoma. So don't say John Mateer. He was not coming here, right? We've seen the Emory Williams show. That ain't it. You want to trust a freshman, a true freshman? I don't believe that that's it. Like, yeah. And it is tough because we saw literally the worst turnover game of his career last week for some bad choices coupled with bad throws. So don't try to think that I'm here saying Carson Beck is the second coming of whomever. He was a very good option. He's also the quarterback who had led us to this 5-0 record and performed pretty well, one game excluding, and who actually went out and, kind of hit bombs over Baghdad against Florida State. So I get it. I understand the frustration. But I've been very critical. I said that first throw he didn't have the range. He doesn't have the juice for that. So the no horsepower and no zip, I agree. I just think that he made some really, really bad decisions. I thought that he tried to play some hero ball in a way that does not befit his skill set. And if you look at all of the interceptions, but specifically the final 3, there were dudes wide open on those plays, just wide open. And he made the choice to throw where he did for whatever reason. If he makes a different choice, to hit an intermediate route or a check down or whatever. And Shannon Dawson said he's the best quarterback that Dawson's ever coached in taking the check down. So why the heck didn't he take the check down instead of pumping at a cornerback, looking at that cornerback who's looking at you, right? Like it's that Diddy meme from when he was on The Voice of the guy looking at him and looking back and looking at him, or whatever that show is, looking at him and looking back, and then throw it directly to him. But you have 3 dudes or 2 other dudes on that side of the field and a crosser wide open on the same play. I think that's brain wiring. And I think that, he was just like, hey, he wanted to pull that thing out and show the size of it to everybody. Hey, I'm King Dingaling and I'm going to make this throw and I'm going to play hero ball, and it went a different way. So I think that there are other issues, while, also saying, I think that you are upset, Muhammad. No arm, exaggeration for comedic effect. No mobility whatsoever, exaggeration for comedic effect. The terminal, no, none. There are parts of his game that are not as good as I think that Carson believes them to be, but he continues to play like they're at a higher level. So I hear you, and I've been critical as well. I do think that he was the best option in the portal. I think that he is the best option on this roster, but whatever's going on behind his eyes and between his ears, in that noggin, that's what needs to get fixed. And he still completed 72% of passes, even with the shenanigans. But the thing is, shenanigans are shenanigans, and shenanigans cost you the game. So I hear you. But I also push back on, like, why do we spend the money, or why do we bring him in? Because he was the best available option. He had played really well this year, and it took the worst game of his career to lose by 3. So I hear you being critical, and I'm critical as well. I think maybe we need to take a half step back from the ledge on the terminal end of Carson Beck's career here at Miami.
Here's the best I can do in jotting down transfer quarterbacks, other than the one that you mentioned, to Oklahoma. And it's not a very impressive list. We had a couple of years of very impressive lists of transfer quarterbacks, but Miller Moss, Nico Iamaleava, Jackson Arnold, Devin Dampier, Darian Mensah, Malik Murphy, Joey Aguilar, Bo Perbula, Preston Stone. Can we think of anybody else? I did a pretty exhaustive.
And you're not taking any of those. Like $8 million Nico wasn't coming here because he was going back out to Cali. So even if you want to say he is the talent, right, of a kid who was a 5-star recruit that everybody in America wanted, he wasn't coming here. Darian Mensah, we kicked the tires on, said no. Joey Aguilar from App State said, no, I mean, we didn't even go down that path. And Preston Stone, nah. Bo Prabula didn't he was a no contact in the portal guy because he knew where he was going. He is a guy who might actually been pretty kind of interesting. But again, that's like trying to date a supermodel who's already married. Like, yeah, you'd be interested in that. She's not checking for you, boo. You know what I mean? So, like, there again, a realistic, viable option for Miami. Maybe Darian Mensah? Maybe? I don't know.
Thomas Castellanos. There's the other one.
Well, no, the other one. And I know that the comments, I haven't scrolled down, are probably screaming. Miami Columbus alum Fernando Mendoza.
Oh, yeah. Okay, forget about him.
That's the one. I'm still up because I haven't scrolled down because I try to go through the chat live or in sequential order, not necessarily live. That's the one. And I know people are probably saying, well, the quarterback of Indiana, who's from here and went to the same high school as Cristobal Mirabal and everybody else, that's probably the one. I still push back on that. I know that he's playing well. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just not necessarily a big fan. I give him credit that he is playing very well within what he can do. But then again, having seen what Carson Beck did last week, maybe then that's probably the one allegory. And again, he's a Miami native. So, and having heard from all of so many people down here that he would have come down had we asked. But that's the only one. But it is what it is, man. We made the choice, got good performances from Carson Beck before, and then got a terrible one. Charles Johnson, 2 buys in 3 weeks. That was not Mario Cristobal's choice. That is from the ACC conference. We ain't got nothing to do with it.
Falconer. Word on the street, Ryan Day to take the Florida head coaching job.
I dislike that person. I dislike where he coaches and everything about that team in the state south of Michigan. I do not fashion him to be the kind of moron who would leave his current job for the job in Alachua County.
Yeah, unless they're going to like break all sorts of salary records or something. I don't know.
Even still.
Like,
yeah. No.
When you make $9 million or whatever he's making, $10 million a year, what's it really matter? Falconer TRX, can Carson Beck still get to the Heisman finals?
He would have to go on such a heater in these final 6 games. Like, I mean, what was that Tyler Van Dyke when he had like 8 games in a row of 300 plus with 3+ tuds and like 1 or 0 interceptions? Like, he would have to go on a generational kind of a heater. Like, what was his name? Kenny Thrill at Texas A&M through September. Yeah. He won, like, you know, those first 4 games. Like, he would have to have that kind of, I mean, video game numbers, like truly video game numbers. I mean, numbers that are probably bigger than Cam Ward numbers from last year every week for the final 6 with a team that likes to play at a slow tempo and run the ball. You know what I mean? I need probably 425 and 3 to 4 tuds every single week. His performance against Louisville was so bad that FanDuel took him off the board for Heisman. He was second on the list of Heisman odds going into the Louisville game. Before I left the stadium on Friday night, he was off the board over at FanDuel.
Carson Beck was second in the Heisman odds going into the Louisville game?
Fact, can't confirm. Because I was writing a piece every week and I was checking it. He was way up there. Yeah. So, but he went from second to off the board, as in you can't even bet it anymore. I mean, absent, I don't even know. Like, absent a run of a quarterback at like Washington State under Leach or like a Western Kentucky, kind of just, I mean, like 60 throws and 400, 500 yards and 4 or 5 tuds every week. I don't think that that's actually feasible anymore. I think that he threw himself firmly out of contention with those 4 interceptions.
Well, first of all, I don't think that he should have been second on the Heisman list going in. But anyway, as it stands right now, I think the other factor in that makes it less feasible is he's just not playing. He's playing high leverage games for Miami, but nationally, in terms of national attention, those games are in the past. Playing Stanford and whoever else is on the ACC schedule, SMU is going to be the biggest game that's going to draw attention. But the rest of these games are not going to draw any attention. Yeah, Pitt and Syracuse, no.
And you played fine. I mean, I'd say good, fine to good, somewhere in there. In the first couple of games, I looked this up live, bad podcasting, but you'll deal with me. Carson Beck game log, 205 yards, but 2 touchdowns and no picks against Notre Dame. Okay, cool. You dealt against Bethune. Cool. 340 yards and 3 touchdowns against USF on 82% completions. Cool. But you also had 2 interceptions in the middle of that game that kind of slowed the train down. All right. Then, I mean, bombs over Baghdad against Florida State, but it was 4 touchdowns on only 241 yards passing. So, like, you've done some things in some big games and whatnot, and then you had a bad game against Florida, 56% completions, 160 yards, no tuds, and a pick. Like, yeah, I just don't think, to Mark's point, I don't think that the spotlight games are in front of you. I think that they're behind you. And, yeah, you put that off. I looked just now. Carson Beck is plus 5,500 on FanDuel Heisman. He is even with Haynes King, but well outside of the top 10.
I'd have to give it a lot of thought to even think about who would be. I've not given thought to the Heisman, but the Indiana quarterback that we just mentioned, I would think, and Dante Moore and maybe Julian Sands starting to get some love. He's in the SEC, Ty Simpson.
Top 5, Mendoza, Simpson, Sayin, Reed from Texas A&M, and Pavia from Vanderbilt. Okay. And then Gunnar Stockton, and then Dante Moore. And the corpse of Julian Love, or Jeremiah Love, who didn't do anything against Miami. And I told you this would happen. They would lose those 2 games. They'd start beating teams, and then all of a sudden, is Notre Dame the best 2-loss team in America? Well, we can't keep them out of the college football playoff. And I told y'all, and now they're doing it.
Well, for me, if considering Miami's schedule, not just the win against Notre Dame, but considering their schedule as well, where they beefed it up against Notre Dame, Florida, South Florida in the non-conference, and the ACC schedule is what it is. I don't think it's extremely easy or hard. I think it's reasonable. That I just think that that's a tiebreaker. That's a head-to-head tiebreaker. If Miami's 10-2 at the end of the year and Notre Dame's 10-2, then Miami should be in the playoff.
You and I both know if that happens, it's going to be Notre Dame over Miami. If it comes down to a 1-1. Now there might be other, teams, and then like I've seen this movie too often, Mark. I'm telling you. I mark it down today, October the 22nd, and I hope this doesn't happen because that means that we lose a game. If it comes down at the end to a team making it or not, between Miami at 10-2 and Notre Dame at 10-2, I guarantee you on anything, it'll be Notre Dame and Miami will be at home on anything.
Well, if Notre Dame played what is typically a Notre Dame schedule, like before they signed these ACC agreements that has been running for 10 years, they're hey, to their credit, their schedules used to be brutal.
Oh yeah,
but now they're not. And with Stanford going downhill and USC not being what they used to be and so forth and so on, they don't play the schedule. They play the likes of like a Florida State, but that's not, I know they didn't play them this year, but their schedules have not been nearly as difficult. So it would be one thing if they played some Murderers Row and you could say, well, that game was all the way back in August. And I still wouldn't agree with the rationale. I would say it's a head-to-head 10-2, 10-2, and Miami bulked up their offseason or their non-conference schedule to say, hey, we got a resume here. Florida, Notre Dame, South Florida. It's a big-time schedule. I would not agree with that, but I would understand some reasoning there, but they don't have that. They don't. Their best win's going to be USC.
The counterpoint will be Miami lost to inferior teams while Notre Dame lost to peer level teams in Miami and Texas A&M. Because if you lose to Louisville, who you're more talented than, and you should be, but you lost that, and in the hypothetical, Miami loses another game along this run, that will be, I've seen it.
I hate when people use, I know you're not using that argument. You're using that in place of what other people are going to say. And I know you're right. People will say that. I hate when people use the more difficult or better loss, but they're using the team that you're comparing them against.
But that will be what it is. Anyways, Falconer TRX, Miami and Stanford never played. Must win for Miami. You got to. Every game is a must win for Miami. And yes, I would like to have the all-time record against Stanford, 1-0 forevermore. Hurricane Pete, here's one super chat that I don't know if we got to. LC cannot hide behind Cam Ward anymore. He's looking suspect this year with play calling, run up the middle, throw to 10 and 7. That's it. Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels are by far the best wide receivers. So, yes, I want to throw them a lot. We wrote on stateoftheu.com the other day, two of our contributors collaborated on a piece about Miami basically exclusively running the duo run play and how that has gone south and how we can fix some things. So, yeah, I mean, there are plays that have been missed even with what we're calling. Jordan Lyle missed a gigantic hole on duo that might have gone for a touchdown in the style of what Jahmyr Gibbs did on Monday night, right? Because that was duo also when he broke that one. The hole was there. Jordan Lyle missed it. Don't mean to call the kid out, but it is what it is. He didn't hit the kind of performance. There were guys open on the interception throws elsewhere that Carson Beck chose. So if he doesn't throw the interception and he does a different thing, then we're looking at it a little bit differently. You know what I mean? And like Shannon Dawson's been in his bag a little bit. I mean, everybody want to talk about, well, he hasn't done anything. End around touchdown to Malachi Toney, followed by a jet sweep option pass by Malachi Toney for the 2-point conversion to bring us within 3. You remember that? I remember that. That wasn't something standard. That wasn't up the middle. Now, I know Hurricane Pete and everybody watching is saying, well, we need to see more of that. I hear you and agree. I just wanted to point out that there have been some of those things as well as extensions of what we do. And I don't necessarily disagree with what Dawson is and Cristobal said. We need to execute better what we do, period. And people were like mad because he used the phrase, it is what it is. He said the run game is what it is, as in we have installed the run game that we use and we lean on the staples and we have some other things in there. Now, yes, I agree. Maybe we should see some more of the other things and less of just duo, and hope that it pops. I agree. But I don't necessarily fully agree that Shannon Dawson's been terrible. I think that there's room for growth. I think that there have been some times when I would like to see a little bit of a pivot because things have not been going well, as do you. But I don't hate his performance as much as other people. Charles Johnson, yes, SMU is still undefeated in ACC play, but we play them in 2 weeks. So,
yeah,
SMU
was actually undefeated in ACC play, period. They're 11-0.
Right, because they were undefeated last year.
They lost the championship game. But Falconer TRX, when Miami wins the Natty, Beck's stock will rise.
Amen. From your lips to God's ears, make it happen.
And then we've got Falconer with this one. Can Miami just win the ACC to shut up Florida State and Florida?
It was funny. I saw your comment higher up about how UF and FSU fans are, they're celebrating, Miami losing a game. It's like, we beat both of y'all. Like, bash your faces in. Like, shut up. But again, had we actually scored some of those points instead of fizzling out, then the scoreboard would have looked a little bit better for the shit talk. But still, if they look on the record, what happened when you played Miami, Florida? L. What happened when you played Miami, Florida State? Big time L. Going up top. I mean, Miami's throwing vertical passes, bombs over Baghdad in a way that hadn't been happening at all this year. But, I mean, it would be nice. I don't know.
It's a historical jab.
It's a historical jab. I don't necessarily know look, honestly, we are not in control of our own destiny towards the ACC championship game. We need help. So, I mean, the first thing is we have to win all of our games, period. But also, we need to be rooting for some of these other teams to beat Virginia or Georgia Tech to open the door, and Louisville also as well, because they only have one, and they have the head tiebreaker. So we need teams
You need
to
two
help.
things to happen because you'll knock SMU out of the way. You need a loss by either Virginia or Georgia Tech and a loss by Louisville.
Fact. All of that. Port Knox saying the quarterback from NC State, CJ Bailey, was in the portal. He was not. And I think that he has a little bit of an axe to grind against Miami because we elected to recruit every single other player from Chaminade except for him. And I know this because I've heard from someone who works at Chaminade whose son was on the team. Basically, they tried to force Miami's hand to offering CJ Bailey so that they would get all of the guys. That'd be Jeremiah Smith, JoJo Trader, Davion Goss, CJ Bailey, and Zaquan Patterson, getting all 5 of them. And so the other 4 who had Miami offers were like, hey, if you take our quarterback, we're all going to slide. And then Mario Cristobal said he cannot play here. We're going in a different direction. No, thank you. So I don't know that is something that he would be interested in running back at this point.
Cam, I'm going to have you read this super chat, and I will explain why when you get done.
From Paolo, first of all, thank you. Where does Al-Qadim Muhammad rank in former Miami Hurricanes you were surprised were in the NFL longer than you thought? Man, up there. So first of all, the Qatari Prince, because he had all this jewelry, and when he was recruited out of New Jersey, said, I have rush moves on top of moves. I got moves you ain't seen anymore. And he just had this bravado, and he walked around with all this bling. And so some friends of mine and I, we nicknamed him the Qatari Prince because he was blinged out like he was a prince from freaking Qatar. He was caught up in the erroneous allegations that cost him and Jermaine Grace their senior years at the University of Miami, unfortunately. There were assault allegations levied against both of them that were henceforth, or allegedly, I believe they were proven to be false, but at that time they were already off the team. And so, yeah, going into the league, was not expecting much from him. He is a pass rush monster for my Detroit Lions, rotating in off the bench, number 96 in Honolulu blue and silver. Yeah, and it's like every game I'm tweeting out the Qatari Prince is making a play, man. Like he had 7 pressures and a sack last week. I mean, it was just, I am so happy for this man and the success that he is having. He would be up there with non-offensive lineman division, because offensive lineman, if you catch on, you can be in the league for 47 years. I would say Al-Qadim Muhammad is up there with like a Rayshawn Jenkins of like a Mike Jackson, the cornerback who's still in the league. You know what I mean? Like he's up there with those dudes. Like there are a couple, man. But yeah, very, very pleased to see the Qatari Prince out there hooping for the Lions.
I did not take on that super chat because I could not remember how to pronounce his first name. I didn't want to botch it.
There's actually a second D in there, Al-Qadim. Yeah. So, hey, it is what it is. Juan Manuel says he's protesting his fandom because the staff is stubborn. Okay. I'll see you here next week. I'm always available on stateoftheu.com also. I'll be there. Is Ruben Bain still on the list? Ruben Bain is still on the PFF list of highest graded players in America. He is, give me a second because I'm scrolling. He is plus 40,000 for the Heisman. He is, for all intents and purposes, off of the list. He is next to longest odds. It's like him, Bryce Underwood, my cousin Bryce, Caleb Downs also at plus 40,000, and then Blake Horvath from Navy is plus 50,000 as the only player with longer odds than Ruben Bain. And Bain would need, again, a big counting stat game, as in tackles for loss and sacks. If you don't have those, even with the advanced stats and everything, counting stats rule the world.
Yep. Folks, one way you can contribute here at the Voice of College Football is use the Amazon link. We've got it right in the description section of the video, and it's pretty nifty because when you click on that, you instantaneously is the word, go to your account, so it knows. And so it's transparent. Same shopping experience, doesn't cost you a penny. They are worth over $3 trillion at Amazon. We are worth slightly less than that. So, hey,
And
you
I'm
spend
slightly less
$100
than
at
that.
Amazon, you throw us like $5. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Couple of things. Oh, the last one, or last two. Somebody said Calais Campbell's in the league. Yeah, but he's been a star player. It's not the same as Al-Qadim Muhammad still being in the league, even for his tenure. It's not at all the same. Juan Manuel, something doesn't smell right in the wide receiver room. Smells some smoke. Hurricane Pete, who I saw that you said we missed your comment, but I believe that we went back and got the super chat. Pete, do you think JoJo Ray and Lyle stay next year if they don't get more playing time? I think that Lyle stays. JoJo and Ray stay, seats taken. Like, respectfully, at this point, you ain't playing over Malachi, my boy. Like, I hate to tell you, but yeah, that seat's taken. As punt returner, as slot receiver, ain't no room at the end. Sorry. So yeah, that's done. The one is JoJo Trader. And there are rumors that I will not repeat here because I have not sourced them or anything, so I'm not going to give life to them. There are plenty of rumors on social media. And whether that's his personal performance, whether that's his citizenship, whether that's attitude and comportment, whatever you want to say, there are plenty of rumors abounding with him. The point of fact at this point, I believe, is it was easier to leave him on the sideline when we continued to win games. We've then lost a game in which he played a singular snap and was immediately taken off of the field. And I saw with my own eyes, which is why I will say this, what looked to be a terse conversation from Kevin Beard, the receivers coach, towards JoJo Trader as he came off the field after his one play. Why that was, go back and watch the film and take your own conclusions. I believe that the playing time train started to leave the station when Miami was winning games while JoJo Trader was not playing and not in the stadium during games. Read between the lines for why or how. At this point, I believe that JoJo Trader and Joshua Moore should see more playing time. Neither of them can redshirt. Joshua Moore has played in 5 of 6 games already. Redshirt's out the window for him. He's playing this year. I would like to see them with more opportunities to prove themselves and elevate themselves in the passing game. So towards the earlier comment, they are in the group with Keelan Marion as the third receiving option behind C.J. Daniels and Malachi Tony. Elijah Lofton, has 12 catches already this year. He is the number 4 receiver in terms of catches. The ball is not finding the tight end as much. People keep saying that Elijah Lofton is the best player on the team and everything. I believe that we would have seen that in game action if he actually were. I think that he's fine, but I think that he's more of a rotational guy as opposed to a superstar. But I would like to see, again, JoJo Trader and Joshua Moore get more snaps, have more opportunities to showcase their skills and add to the passing game, again, in that number 3 option, along with Keelan Marion, who's been playing well, but he's not necessarily a super game-breaking receiver this year. That is what I would like to see. It is incumbent upon those gentlemen to do their work on campus, as citizens, and in practice and when given opportunities in the game, to continue to have that be the case. That is on them. Muhammad Hussein, why is JoJo still on the team? Because he is a member of this program until he is not. And again, you can go back and look at his one rep from last week's game, make your own conclusions about his level of buy-in and connectedness to this team and to his role and the state of being. Again, and beyond that, I am not going to, again, breathe life to any of the many speculative things that are on social media. I'm not doing any of that. So if you've heard a thing and you believe that, cool. If you've heard another thing and you believe that, cool. Point of fact is, if he doesn't do more with the opportunities that he is given, then we need to play somebody else. And this also goes back to Shannon Dawson's comment from this week's presser. We only ran 60 plays, so it's hard to take starters off when you have a limited number of snaps. When you have more snaps on offense, then there are more opportunities for secondary, tertiary options to hit the field, which circles all the way back to my beginning soliloquy of I believe that this week is a key game, because when the scoreboard looks like it should, with a very large crooked number for Miami and a goose egg or small crooked number for Stanford, then you'll have the ability to give more snaps to Joshua Moore, to JoJo Trader, and give them the chance through their play on the field in a game to state their case for more playing time. It's up to them. So that's my read on it. I know that some of you watching or listening, whether it's live or afterwards, are like, oh my God, Cam, I wish you would just say some stuff. I've said what I am willing to say about it. And as Charles Johnson says, the show must go on. The last thing, and very last thing, because it is dinner time for your boy, Juan Manuel V. What does it say? True freshmen, 2 transfer portal starters are mostly playing in Kevin Beard's wide receiver room. Number one, that JoJo Trader got hurt because JoJo Trader started the opener. So there you have that. And then, hey, those are the guys who have been performing. And I don't go to practice every day. I don't see what they do. I heard from, just like everybody, and also from some behind-the-scenes sources all the way through spring or fall. Hey, or spring and fall, actually. Joshua Moore, real deal. He's out here hooping. Malachi Toney, he's out here hooping on Green Tree or at Cobb Stadium or wherever we got practice. Yo. Now, one of those dudes is starting and is going to be a freshman All-American and ACC probably freshman of the year. The other dude, not necessarily, because, you got CJ Daniels in front of him. But it says that we're playing the best players. And I think that while it is nice to say, I want more rotation and I wish that my fave were on the field more. Remember, we talked about that every freaking week with Chris Johnson Jr. at running back. Hey, I like this guy and I would like to see him more. If he were better, he would be on the field. So I think that it speaks a measure to, number one, JoJo getting injured and coming off the field during the Notre Dame game. We'll go back, watch that. That's verified. And then moving forward. So that's what I have to say. Anything else, I'll either say on the website, stateoftheu.com, please come over and fan with us, or this same time next week, Wednesday at 7, right here with Mark. So, yeah, come on over and fan with us, State of the U. I've written a bunch of great stuff. We had a collaboration piece between Mike Schiffman and Justin DeTavio about the duo run game. We got even more stuff up there for you. Low price of free $99, as is this show. The only thing that I ask, either here or there or anywhere that you interact with my content, and also Mark's, because, hey, can't do this without him. Like, share, subscribe. See ya.